Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Sharon Harris Experience on Sirius XM Studio 54 Radio. Now, I know I talk about the musicians that have been playing the music because, you guys listen to all this fabulous music, but there are fabulous musicians playing the music, and I just happen to have one today, Vincent Henry. Hey, Vincent.
Hi, Sharon.
How you doing?
Doing fine. How about you?
I am doing well. Long time no see.
Yeah.
Really long time. We're not going to say how many years. But I'm really excited to have you here today. When I'm speaking on my podcast, I'm often talking about the musicians who are playing on the tracks. Now, you were playing in bands. I know we both played in bands that were playing at the Cellar, playing around Harlem. There was McKell's. There were so many great places for live music. Yeah. And I'm taking this back to the 80s. Yeah. So, a lot happening, but a lot of the music and a lot of the bands that you ended up working with became pretty legendary, and you've been doing some really amazing work yourself. So I'd like to dive in a little bit. Can we kind of reel back to, your beginnings in Harlem and playing music and talk about that a little? Thank you.
Well, I started out, really as a music fan. I mean, still I consider myself a lucky music fan that got to hang around. But somehow it became a career. I had no specific ambition. I just liked music, and eventually I bought a saxophone in the pawn shop with my money from part-time job and fiddling around with it. And then my cousin, Bumpy Johnson, who lived up in the Bronx, he's a drummer, and he told me, well, we need you in a band. Band lived in the Bronx, Northeast Bronx. Mm-hmm. There were more bands and places to rehearse up there. So every week I took the number 2 train up faithfully. And then that went for a while. And then other little gigs. Then I started playing in a band called Universe City in the mid-'70s. I was good friends with a guy that was then known as Mike Stevens, but Michael was his middle name. His name is Thomas Michael Stevens. He became more known as TM Stevens, great bass player. And I joined this band that was on Midland International Records, distributed by RCA, called Universe City. And TM and I played together for a while. Then I started playing at a place. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's really legendary. It's called Webster Bowl Lounge. It's on Webster Avenue in the Bronx. And I played there for more than 2 years, 4 nights a week, with Larry Robinson. He was the band leader.
Wow.
Tom McConnell, who was the drummer with Sky. He played there, and then when Sky would go on tour, we had subs come in for him, like Yogi Horton, Omar Hakim. All these people would come up to the Webster Bowl Lounge and play. And then we would come and sit, and Ronnie Drayton would come up. And
incredible.
And this incredible. Was like, I was working there 4 nights a week and had a day job in the hospital 5 days a week. And so I didn't sleep a lot. Then TM called me, and the trumpet player, George Ellington III, who's since deceased last year, to start playing horns with him on Stacy Lattisor's tour in 1980. And we did that for a while, and then he broke the band down, and then TM kept the band on the road with Stacy, 5 pieces into 81. And also did some gigs with TM, solo gigs of his. And Freddie Petrus, the band, the manager and producer of Change, saw me, and at that time, I had a guitar. I would play parts now and then, but I didn't consider myself a guitarist, a saxophonist guitarist. But he saw that, and he said, "You're the sax guitar. We need you in Change." And I wanted to be, so I said, "Yeah." So that record just blew up. When I first heard it, in fact, I was on the road with Stacy when that record came out.
Wow.
That's something going on there.
Yeah. Well, that was a huge record in the club, like almost as soon as it came out. So for me, going to, whether I was going to Bentley's was one of my hangouts, I think, at that time. Going to Bentley's, going to, the Garage. I don't know that they played that as frequently.
They did, but we played there twice.
You played there? Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it was, but I'm glad that they played it, because it definitely was a great record. Really, really. I still love that record. I love the musicianship on that record. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the people, can we talk about some of the people that went through that group?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Between the core of the group and then also the people that would come through.
Yeah.
It was everybody.
Yeah. Because all the musicians, all the great musicians, and people really I know that we understand because we're part of the music community. But when we're talking about everybody who's running around in New York during that time and the history that they began to create for themselves, like when you talk about Omar Hakim and, and of course his work with Madonna later on. And, and when you're just thinking about the music building, and everybody who had a suite there, and with Change. So we had Luther come through Change, and who else was in Change? A lot of people.
Well, early on there was a lot of, there were the producers Mauro and Mauro Malavasi and Davide Romani that put the music together for Freddie, and then of course Luther, and then singers like Dennis Collins and Yolanda McCullough.
Wow.
Michelle Cobbs. So many.
Jeff Bova came through.
Jeff Bova was in the band. Yeah, we came in the band together in 81. Jeff Bova, James Crab Robinson,
Jocelyn Brown was in the band.
Jocelyn Brown sang. Carol Sylvan, Mary Seymour. Early on, Larry McCrae, and then Timmy Allen came in and became the full-time.
Timmy Allen, wow, I haven't heard that name in ages.
Yeah, Timmy. Rick Galway. It was quite a bunch, and it started out with that first album. They didn't expect it to blow up as a band, so they we have to really not just hire musicians to do sessions, we have to assemble this band. And then that's when that incarnation 81 came about. And then Sharing Your Love, the band got a little smaller. And then by the fourth album, it shrunk down to a core of 6 people, which was Debbie Cooper, Rick Brennan, Timmy Allen, Jeff Bova, Mike Campbell, and myself, and Toby Johnson.
Wow! So
like that until.
So now some of the early hits, of course, there was A Lover's Holiday, there was The Glow of Love, there was Searching, Paradise. Hold Tight, Heaven of My Life.
Heaven, that's the one we like playing the most on stage.
Wow!
We we're gonna play Heaven, man. We just enjoy playing that, for some reason that stood out for us. And then, in 82, we were on tour, and we stopped through Minneapolis, played at this club called Duffy's. So we're like, wow, we're in Minneapolis, and that whole sound with Prince and the time and everything was blowing up. And a singer was opening for us with a band named Sue Ann Carwell, tremendous singer. Mm-hmm. She lives in LA now. And we look in the audience, and everybody's there. Jam, Lewis, Jelly Bean. They came to see us. And they were like, we love y'all. We listen to Change all the time, And we hung out. We went to a party. Terry said, come in the car, I want you to hear our new single. And it was 777-9311. He's playing it for me on
That's
cassette.
Crazy. He's playing for you on a cassette. 777-9311.
It's not even in the street yet. And then, not to go off on a tangent, but on the cover of the Sharing Your Love album, where we have all the suits and stuff, we were laughing hysterically because there was a woman who was a model who came to pick up her portfolio from the photographer, and she was standing behind him, just making jokes, and we're just cracking up. She's hilarious. Yeah, that night in Minneapolis later, I went to a club because a friend of mine's brother owned it, and she said, she was the wife of one of my best friends. She said, "Go say hi to my brother Frankie." Knock on the door. Said, "We're closed." I said, Frankie's sister said, "Come and say hi." "Oh, you know my sister." Open up. All the time is there, sitting at tables. And a woman in the back, I can't see her. She said, "I know you, you're in Change." I said, "Were you at the show?" She said, "No, I was at your photo shoot." She leaned forward. It was the same woman.
No way.
That was at the photo shoot. So I said, "I remember you. What are you doing here?" She said, "I came here to make an album with these guys in Minneapolis." Her name was Denise Matthews. They changed her name to Vanity.
Vanity.
So I'm like, when I saw Purple Rain, I'm like, that really happened because I saw it.
So it's interesting how we as musicians almost become a part of history.
Yeah, unbeknownst to us, because we're just living our lives.
Right. And that was one of the drivers in me getting this podcast, because growing up in New York.
Yeah.
There were so many people that we were around, and being a fly on the wall.
Yeah. And I love the social scene in the clubs, because everybody from the Penthouse to the Projects was hanging in the same club. Oh,
absolutely.
Beautiful scene.
Absolutely. I went to, recall parties in New York, and Eddie Murphy would walk in and Kashif would walk in, and,
there you go.
And it was just like partying. Nobody was, Andy Warhol, you'd see walking down the street, Basquiat, all of these people, they were just like normal fixtures. And it wasn't.
I get goosebumps thinking about it, because it was really like that.
It was really a very, very cool time. And, so I've been living in Los Angeles for some time. And in Los Angeles, there's a lot of stargazing. So when people come to visit, they're always like, I want to go, I want to see the stars. But we never really did that in New York. I saw Diana Ross in Times Square just, doing her thing. It was the dead of winter, and, she was just kind of hanging out, and nobody bothered them and went and asked for their autograph. We just let people live and respected their game, and and it was beautiful. Even, Ashford and Simpson, you'd see them, floating around town, and people could float around freely without paparazzi bothering them all the time or making up stories.
Right.
Yeah. Those were the days, huh?
Good time in New York, for sure.
Oh man, it was an amazing time in New York. Okay, so now we talked about Change. Mm-hmm. The Cellar. Let's talk about the Cellar a little bit.
The Cellar was kind of incredible. I had played there a couple of times before, when I got into the thick of playing there. I guess that would have been around late 82, early 83. At that time, I started playing with Johnny briefly. Mm-hmm. Then I got a call to go stay in Paris. So they were putting up a run for this Broadway show, Your Arms Too Short to Box with God.
Vinette Carroll.
Yeah, Vinette. And I had done several things with Vinette before that. So I got this call, and I was like, wow. And it was cool, because I was just living in Paris for almost half a year, just playing my parts in the show. And then when I got back that May, almost a day or two after I got back, almost, because we had already done the next Change album, and by the time I got back, it was ready for release. Went straight in, did Cashbox shoot for that. And then Johnny said, "You're back. I'm going back in the Cellar." And then Change did not tour that year. I spent that whole summer playing with Johnny at the Cellar.
So this is 83?
Exactly 83.
Okay.
Maybe from May or so right through.
Yeah.
And it was really hot time in the cellar because we started in. He had Melissa Morgan singing with him at the time, and then Melissa got a gig with Shaka Khan singing, and then she came back, and then she and Lisette Wilson started their own band, so they were in the rotation at the cellar. So it was Johnny, Melissa, Jamila with Keith Sweat, and another band called Hypertension out of Boston.
Right. That's with Margot Thunder. Is that the one with Margot Thunder? Wait, no.
With Margot. They did play.
They played with Margot.
But
Margot had her own thing because I was at Berkeley. Yeah, I was at Berkeley. Yeah.
But Donald Pinkney joined in with their band, and this guy was booking all these bands to do the Carnival of Venice, and it was Vivian Sessoms and Norm Gorman with the band leader, and Rides. That was something because he was doing his whole routine with sticks in his mouth and walking around the set and playing. People went berserk over him over there in Italy. They went crazy over him. He was a piece of work.
He was really, so I have a long history with Fred the Animal Kelly. Oh yeah. Because he lived in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And we played in the local bands together. What was the singer? Jimmy, I can't remember his last name. Jimmy, he had a cousin. We played like the Baby Grand, the Mark IV. We played a lot of the Harlem clubs.
That was the scene, yeah.
Yeah, and Jimmy could sing. And, we played like Fatback Band. We played the repertoire, which was really great. Fred, a lot of times, would be on drums. I can't remember all of the players that were with us at that time. But somehow, Animal and we started working with this guy, Milt Harris, who was a sax player. He lived up in Westchester. I lived in Mount Vernon. I want to say Milton lived in White Plains. And somehow he got these prison gigs.
Okay.
Prison gigs. So we would go play Rikers Island. We'd play Manhattan House Detention, Bronx House of Detention. We'd play the Barge. We'd play the psychiatric wards. And, and we spent a lot of time in Rikers though. So Animal was always on the gig and he would just always, show up, or if he needed a ride, I'd give him a ride. But one night, I'm driving up the street and I see Animal pulling his suitcase. Now he created this drum set that fit into a Samsonite suitcase.
I think I kind of remember that.
He went to a junkyard. He took a bed frame. He welded it together, and that was the kick drum. And the dimensions fit inside this large, it must have been a 27, 30-inch suitcase or whatever. And he had the hi-hat screwed on the outside of the suitcase, so that way he could just pull everything.
I remember that thing now.
Remember
describing it? Yeah.
That drum set sounded so daggone good.
Wow.
So daggone good. But I was like, Animal, I cannot. And it was like 3:00 in the morning. And, he was a big buff. He was like a Mike Tyson type looking dude. So nobody ever messed with him, which was really great. And he was also, pretty much of a fixture at Paradise Garage because he would scratch his hi-hats like they were turntables.
Right.
Now, I've only seen 2 videos of him, on the internet. There's really not much about him, but that dude was special.
He was.
Yeah, we played in a lot of bands together.
Wow. There's so many every time each sentence takes me in like 5 directions. I did that circuit a little bit, especially in 95. I was working with this theater group. This was between 84 and 85. I was in Mtume's band. During the youth, I played on the You, Me, and He album, and then I went on the road with him, which is a whole another experience. But after that was over, things got slow. So I got a job with this theater company with Stephanie Berry, John Martin Green, and Keith David.
Keith David, yes.
And it was just me and a percussionist named Ron McBee. And we did the prison circuit throughout New York State. Minimum, maximum, and security.
Yeah, we did sing too.
We did that.
We did sing.
Danamora. We did all this stuff. But the crazy part was we went into this one prison. We had to do 2 shows. We had to do for general population, and then we had to do for protective custody, a separate show in a smaller room. And we were getting ready to go out. And of all things, it was a play about the writer Zora Neale Hurston, you know, which was really a nice thing to be able to do. But the supervisor of protective custody unit says, "Now go out. Don't be alarmed when you go out. But on your right, you're gonna look toward the front, and David Berkowitz is gonna be in the audience." We're like, "Who?" They told us, because if we walked out and saw Son of Sam staring us in the face, we might not be able to proceed.
That's crazy.
That was very eerie. You know?
That was eerie. Now, I had a few